Hi, this is Jim from MainlineLeather.com again. Today we're going to make a belt. So before we start, I guess we should discuss what kind of leathers we're going to use. Let me show you a couple here, a few. My leather of choice is veg tan, also known as vegetable tan. The qualities of this particular leather is that you can wet it and stamp it and carve it. It can be molded. It can be stained and dyed. You can put finishes on it. It's a very versatile leather, so you can do a lot. So this is my leather of choice. It gives you a blank canvas to start with. The second one is also veg tan, but it's already been finished. It's been pre-finished with a factory finish. This is a nice leather also if you're making just black belts. It has a nice professional look to it, and you don't have to stain and do those types of prep work. Another piece I have here is a nice piece of English bridle, which has a really nice upscale feel to it. It almost feels a little bit waxy, a little bit, and it just has a good hand, a good feel to it. So this is a good choice of leather also. Well, for today's video, what I'm going to do is use the veg tan. So what we're going to do is, I've already cut this veg tan. This is a double shoulder. So what I've done is, before starting the video, is I cut it in half so I could have a nice straight edge to cut the belt on. The size that I've chosen is an 1.5 inch belt because it's a fairly common size, goes through most pants. It's not too wide, not too narrow. The tool there's several ways you can do this. One is you can have a machine that'll do this, but most of us can't afford just a machine dedicated just to do this. So my recommendation would be this draw gauge. And how this draw gauge works, if you want to come in close here and take a look, is you can adjust this. Now this is the blade, and you can see it's marked, with the inch. It's got a ruler on it, so you can mark it on the width that you want. It has a very sharp, almost like razor blade type of blade on it, so be mindful of where that is, because it is very sharp. So I'm going to set this for 1.5 inches right now, and I'm going to tighten that down, and I'm going to give it just a little bit more so it doesn't disengage on me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the end of the belt, and I'm going to start cutting it. Now what I've done here is I've just made a little mark as to where my 1.5 inches is, because it's really kind of awkward when you first start. So I'm going to, as you can see, I marked it. If you're looking close at that, I've kind of scored it. Take my scissors and just start it a little bit, just to give me enough to actually be able to hold on to it. And all you do is make sure your leather is sitting up to the edge of that gauge, and you draw it towards you. Don't go quickly. There's no need to rush. And just continue to draw it, holding the piece of leather at the other end. Now, what's also helpful is if you can tack this piece down. I'm going to withdraw that just for a moment, and I'm going to take a small tack. I'm going to tack the end of this so that it can hold the hide for me. So now when I put this back in, I should say, that tack is holding it for me. So all I got to do is just continue drawing it back. And this is where a nice sharp knife is very, very helpful. And just continue to draw it back. Draw it back. You can see this is going to be a really nice straight edge. And continue to draw it back. And draw it back. And I'm going to go the whole length of the shoulder, just so that we can have a nice long belt. All the way to the end. And there we go. We finally have our belt blank. So that's our beginning point. I'm going to take this piece of leather off here, put it aside. Now we have to determine how long do we want this belt, because you've got to keep in mind that you're going to be folding this over, and depending on what kind of buckle you're going to use, you may use a tongue buckle, or you may use just like a trophy buckle style buckle. So you have to know which kind of buckle you're going to use before you start. You're also going to want to put in a tuck loop in here so you can, tuck the belt back under it, like so. So you just make sure you leave enough room in the back to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip this off using a tip die. Excuse me for a moment. Got to get my hammer. I'm going to use a tip die because I don't want to leave it, just like this. I want to be able to have a nice end to it. So I'm going to put that tip die on there, get it centered, and hit it. And that gives me the tip that I wanted. At the other end of the belt, I do the same thing because this is the end that the holes are going to be on. So I'm going to tip off that end as well. So here we go again. And that's that. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not really measuring the belt. So that what you want to do is make sure you measure from that end, right where the buckle is. And what I do is I measure to the center hole to give me my size. So if you want a size 32-inch belt, you're going to go right to the center hole, because I usually put 5 holes. 1 where the exact number is going to be, and 2 each way, each other way. So now, put holes in at one end. Now I've made myself a little template here for holes so that they'll be evenly spaced, so that everything looks neat and tidy when you do it. So what I do is I just kind of lay it over, take a pen, take a, whatever you have handy, and mark where you're going to put these holes. And what I do is I put 5 holes, and I'll go to either side of that hole, so of the center hole. So now what I will do is I will take my punch and hit it, and I'll go 1 or 2 each way. 1, 2. So now, if I've done this right, when I fold over the other end of the belt, when the buckle is on, that will be the exact size that I've determined the belt should be. Now the other end of the belt, this is where your buckle will go. What we're going to need first is to have an oblong punch, so that the tongue of the buckle has a place to go through. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate that and hit that as well. And that will take a little piece of leather out. So now you've got a spot to put the buckle through. From here, to finish off the belt, all you'd have to do is punch a few more holes, and I'm going to punch that right there, and I'm going to also punch it right there, and I'm going to give it one more right there. Okay, now that we have all of our holes punched, what I'm going to do is take the buckle and put it in, like so. Then I'm going to take some rivets. I have these little speedy rivets here. They're double cap rivets. Put it in from underneath. And I have a little setting anvil. And this little setting anvil is concaved so that it doesn't flatten the bottom of the double cap rivet, because this is slightly domed a little bit. So we're going to put that in there so it sits in there. I'm going to take the top, put it here. Now the setters also has a concaved end on it, so it doesn't flatten out the rivet head either. So we're going to cover that up and just give it a little tap, and you can see it keeps it nice and round. So we're going to do that a couple more times. Let's get that rivet right in there. And put the the cap back on. And we'll hit that as well. There we go. Now if you want to put in a little belt loop stay, a little tuck loop, you can extend this piece a little bit longer and give yourself some space in between these two holes to do that. I've elected not to do it on this particular belt, but it's very easily done. So we're going to put that last one on, like so. And voila, you have a completed belt. So that concludes this installment of belt making. If you need any supplies, leather stains, dyes, tools, just check us out on mainlineleather.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the next installment. Thank you. Have a good day.